Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name, as always, is Bloodstained Wings, and today we're going to be doing a painting that is actually a gift. So don't tell anyone, but this is for my boyfriend. This is a painting of a whiskey in a glass, and it's for my boyfriend's YouTube video background, although I don't know if he's going to use it for that or if he's going to just put it in his office space. Not entirely sure, but the idea was to go for a real masculine vibe. And I did do the whole painting first with brushes, and then I went over the entire painting with palette knife work to make it more textured and really increase the contrast that were going on to try to give it that like 3D vibe. So hopefully we got there eventually. I have actually been considering painting some other cocktails or glasses. This was my first attempt at it, and if you guys think it's really nice and have suggestions as to what you think I should paint in terms of like a mixed cocktail, please feel free to let me know if you'd rather have something like a hot toddy or like I don't know, a pink lady or anything like that. You guys feel free to send me your cocktail recommendations in the below comments, and maybe I will paint one if there's a lot of interest in one in particular. This was theoretically an old-fashioned, but could also just be whiskey in a glass. Well, thank you so much for watching the intro, and now let's get to painting. All right, hello. And thank you for waiting for my next video. Now, just because of the way things are going, I am recording this before Christmas, because this is actually going to be a Christmas gift for my significant other. His name is James. And I'm hoping for this to look like an old-fashioned, or maybe just a whiskey in a glass, because that is something he would enjoy. So you can see here I've got a very simple, basic color palette that I'm sticking to. I have titanium white right here is the first one, and then I have yellow ochre. This is Prussian blue. It's a very, very, very dark blue. And then this is Van Dyke Brown. And the idea is to have the background a mixture of the Van Dyke Brown with the Prussian blue. And for the glass to, for the most part, be yellow ochre, but also some hints of the Van Dyke Brown as well to kind of like enrich that up a little bit. That's the plan. I probably will start with the Van Dyke Brown over everything, and then from there add the other colors to shapen everything up. And I'm gonna end with the Prussian blue. Now that's the reason for that is because Prussian blue is a very, very strong and potent color. So the Van Dyke Brown here will just kind of be I don't know, like a sepia wash. Sepia? We've had this discussion before. I don't know if I got an answer, but here we go. So yeah, I'm just kind of starting with the brown, and then from there I can add like highlights and lowlights. And I also thought it might be fun to try to do this like with like texture and the palette knife and get really crazy with it. But not too crazy, because I do still want James to like it. And I'm not sure how he feels about palette knife paintings. So we're gonna just try to take it a little bit easy while still going pretty crazy. So already you can see that everything has like much more depth just from me adding the Van Dyke Brown on this part already. It looks like it's more of a glass of something as opposed to just empty, which is great. That's a great place to start. So we're gonna, like I said, do the background last, which is the complete opposite way of how you should do things. I'm gonna start with the foreground. I'm gonna start with the glass because it's yellow ochre. Yellow ochre is not a very strong color at all, and as a result, it can be very easily overwhelmed by other colors. And you want to be sure that you allow the other colors to not spoil the yellow ochre, because it will. They will take over, they will dominate. So I'm just gonna kind of give generally a yellow wash to where I want the yellow to be. Now it looks like a cup of tea, which is great, but we're gonna use other colors as well to make things work. I'm also going to add a little bit of the yellow ochre through here, just to kind of add a little brightness, and I'm gonna have a little bit of it through here again as a little brightness and a little diversity to the background colors. And now we can add like the whites and the browns and make everything like really come alive. And then once we have like a layout of what we want, then we can come back in with the palette knife to kind of shape everything together. All right, we have our little edge there and a little brown here. And now I do have a reference image up as well for anybody who is wondering, is she just winging this? No, she has a reference picture. I may actually get some orange and blend this with orange. Hang on, I'll be right back. I am back. I now have a smidge of, this is some very bright orange, but I think it's gonna really add like a pop. Now I did not wash my brush, which I think is going to help to mute it down just a little. And then this will add some like interest. I'll just try to blend that a little bit, because I don't want to lose the yellow. This is still a like golden-y kind of drink, but I want it to kind of be less separate things, more one item. It is working. We are making progress. I have roughly an hour to finish this before he gets home. I may add some of the Prussian blue to darken it, because that sounds like a crazy idea. And you know I love crazy ideas. Well, it's starting to shape up a little bit, so that's good. We got some sort of shape happening, which is very exciting. Okay, good. Good, good, good. I will say that this looks like it's leaning, so I'm just gonna try to bring this up a bit. Try to help it look like it's not leaning so much. Maybe it's up here. That's the problem. Somewhere amongst all of this, there is a problem with it leaning. A little bit more. There, that looks better. That looks better. That looks solidly better. Okay, now we can do highlights on it with some white. And that's gonna help to bring everything together more. Oh, I forgot to do, oh, that's gonna be background colors. That is gonna be blue eventually, but that's okay. Add the highlight. There we go, blend that yellow out. And we're gonna add the blue to it, so it's gonna be like very dark very soon, but we're working with the intersection still, so. There we go. And then we come in here. And we add the blue like so, or the white like so. There we go. The idea is to increase the contrast until you get something that kind of looks more 3D than it currently is, which is the idea, to add contrast to make things look and feel more 3D. These lines are not straight. Much like me. That's okay, right? We accept things being not straight here, so that's good. There we go. Let that line go straight through. To give it that edge of glass feel. Again, there's gonna be, I don't know if I'm gonna do this with a palette knife. Now that I've got this like here, I don't know if I can do this with a palette knife. I'm working really hard just to make it look the way it looks right now with not the palette knife, so. I don't know if I'm brave enough to tackle this palette knife style, but you know, who knows? Maybe I should not be afraid. That's a suggestion that I just gave myself. All right, let's get some of this brown and some of this blue. So I don't have a lot of the brown in this because there is brown on the canvas, but the blue is very strong. But also I painted the entire background black. So you're not really gonna see this blue as much as you're gonna like, it's gonna shine blue, if that makes sense. It's gonna have this blue suggestion, this blue flavor that's offering. All right, am I ready to go into the glass? No, I'm super scared. Okay, great. Let's do it, because what else are we gonna do, right? All right. Here we go, into the glass. All right, now I'm gonna use a different brush to kind of blend this together. It's got a little more brown in it now because there was some brown on this brush. That is okay. Because I can just touch a bit of the blue and it's immediately gonna be exceedingly blue. So that's one way to solve your problem, is to just grab a little blue. Now it looks really dark in that section. This section to be dark. Yeah, because we're skipping this section, and then this section is going to be really dark, with an emphasis on this part. And then it's really dark in this part. And then there's like a little room for highlights through a bunch of different areas. Like there's a little whoosh. And there's a little like whoosh. Things like that to make it look more. You know, like it's got like the rounded things. Yeah. I don't want this part to be as dark as the other part, but I do want it to be more blended. So I'm just using the, I'm going to call it my white brush. It's not, but you know, it's my white brush because I used white with this brush. And I'm just blending that together and getting it really nice and close to that water line that we have there. And I'm not sure I have a choice in regards to this being palette knifed. I think it's the only way to make it work. I think that it just has to be a palette knife to work. Because right now it looks a lot like butts. I'm not sure I like how much like butts it looks. I think that palette knife might be our only savior here. And try to add like some highlights to see if maybe I can just save it somehow with highlights. I forgot to do this part of the mug, hilariously. So let's get that part in, because otherwise this is going to be weird. Now I am using Prussian blue, which is an exceptionally dark, exceptionally potent blue. Not that Phthalo blue isn't also exceptionally dark and potent, just that it's more bright, and this has more of a like dark intensity. And now we got a little blue. And our highlighted edge there, which I think helps to make it feel a bit more a 3D. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for it to like give off this like 3D vibe. Try and see if I can use some of this light blue action through here to give the like the glasses reflecting the background kind of feels. I do have a reference picture. As always, I highly recommend using references. And I do have a reference for this. And I always recommend using references because it makes all the difference in the world having references. Okay, so that's our basic idea here. And then I'm going to take a little bit of this white and a little bit of this red. Yep. And I'm going to add that to here. Oh, I need more white. Add this to our like shadow color. And by that I mean light color. It's like the light from the from the glass, like shining through. I'm gonna try to grab a little bit more of the yellow ochre with some white. See if we can get some yellow ochre through there. Have it be like more of the colors of the actual glass here. That looks good. All right, and then grabbing some of the brown to kind of shade this area in the color that the whiskey is in here. Again, I'm just going to blend that. It's like way more of an intense orange in the reference picture. And I want to be that. I think there was too much white on my brush when I started doing that. There, now it's a lot more intense. That's good. We wanted more intense, we got more intense. That's the idea. All right, so now I have to decide if I want to do this with a palette knife and really mess the whole thing up. Which, of course, I am going to. I'm just going to embrace it. We're just going to embrace things. If this doesn't work, it doesn't work. And that's how we're going with this. The good thing about doing things with a palette knife is that it doesn't necessarily have to be in the correct order. So I am mixing the brown with the phthalo blue. I'm going to mix a little more brown into it. The brown helps to make sure that when it touches the yellow, it doesn't turn like so green, because we don't want it to turn green. If anything's going to turn green, we want the blue to turn green, not the yellow. So that's the idea behind adding the brown, is to try to stop the green from happening. Anyways, let's try to get some texture in the background, maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit of invisible texture, which will like be picked up by the light, not really by anything the heck else. I'm not gonna like go super crazy with this. Because I just want like a little hint of this texture, because I think it's going to help to like open up the background a little bit more and make it look more, you know, exciting and manly. Because manly things have texture, you know, like leather and wood paneling. You guys know what I'm saying, right? This is for a man cave. It's got to have that man cave vibe. I had to add more brown. I might need to get more Prussian blue, which is exceptionally rare for me to need to do. This has a little bit more brown in it than it does the rest of the colors, but there we go. I think that adding the brown helps it to have more texture anyways, so I think that's good for adding some like variations to the background so it's not all uniform and like dark. It's got some like interest, pops of things happening. All right, we've got that. Do we want to do the same thing with the table? With the yellow ochre and everything. I mean, it's gonna make the table look a lot better. That's for dang sure. All right, let's do it. See, but then I immediately touch the blue and everything is ruined. All right, let's see if we can just fix that up with a little more of the yellow ochre. There we go. A little yellow ochre. Clean everything up a bit. I have more yellow ochre, so we're good. Just gonna put a huge pile of yellow ochre out there. Grab some of it and just kind of, I'm laying it in horizontally with the idea of adding the texture so it looks kind of like wood is the idea. And I can go over it with some white to like pick up the texture and like highlight it a bit. But it still allows for a lot of these other colors to, you know, pierce through, exist. It just gives some added texture. I'm gonna take, whoops. Apparently I'm gonna mix everything together and accidentally touch the white, which is not what I wanted to do. But I mixed the brown and the yellow ochre together. I wanted to kind of give a slightly darker wooden color to this part here, so it looks like it's like the front of the desk kind of thing. I still want it to be mostly yellow ochre though, so we're just gonna go ahead and get more yellow ochre and put that on top. Oh, blending with a palette knife. Who does not love that? You guys, I'm just gonna introduce you to blending with a palette knife. Heck yeah. Just really casually blending with a palette knife. You didn't know that you needed it in your life until now. All right, now we can add some of the white with a little bit of that yellow and brown, and we can just highlight some of this area here so it looks like there's some light happening through here. We can also highlight downwards again so it looks like there is some light shining through the glass. There we go. Light shining through the glass. All right, and now we can do the dark for the shadowy area. I hear what you're saying. Are you just ignoring the entire glass right now because you're afraid of it? No. Obviously, that is exactly what I'm doing, and how dare you point it out? Yeah, so I'm avoiding the middle section because I'm a little scared of it. There's that intense cadmium red. Just super intense. I don't want to have a whole heck of a lot of it, but I do want it to be there and to exist and liven things up a bit. I think this whole thing is giving this a lot more life and texture, and it's making it much more worthy of a man cave. At least that's what I'm going for. Something that is worthy of a man cave. By the way, if you guys like this, I was thinking about maybe doing another cocktail kind of painting. Like maybe doing like a hot toddy kind of situation. So if you guys think that's a good idea, please let me know in the comments below. And potentially I will do another cocktail. We were watching a lot of How to Drink. He is not sponsoring this video at all. Nor is this painting going to him. But if you guys are not watching any cocktail making shows, I find his to be relatively entertaining for the most part. But I like the drinks that he makes and how he goes about like commenting on the drinks, because he explains it in terms that like I feel like I can understand, which is not to be said of a lot of things. And he does actually go through and talk about like what they actually taste like, and I find it's not just like, here's a cocktail, if you think that sounds good, try it. Which, like, I don't know if that sounds good or not. Or like, if it sounds good, if that means it's actually going to be good, because those are different things. So I appreciate his like tasting notes, and he kind of goes about it in a comedic way, which I also appreciate. So yeah, I could try to paint one of his cocktails that he has created. I know that the pumpkin spice recipe that I modified his recipe to be more cardamom heavy and keto friendly in my own version. Because I am on the keto again, which is really good for me personally. Not necessarily for everyone, but definitely good for me. So, you know. We need more contrast. So we're adding more contrast. If the background is black, this should definitely be darker. So we're kind of adding that in a little bit. Looking a little better. And this is all texture. All right. Adding in some texture. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this. But yeah, watching Greg from How to Drink inspired me to make a hot toddy using an unusual ingredient, because you don't normally make hot toddies with Saint Germain's, but Saint Germain's is a elderflower liqueur, and I happen to love elderflower. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but elderflower is flippin' delicious. It has all kinds of like character and like, I don't know, notes, I guess. It's really floral and really herbal while still being sweet and not being bitter. And I find that a lot of floral flavors to be very bitter, where the elderflower one is not, which I think is very special. I don't think a lot of things kind of hit that mark. I find that a lot of them are very, very bitter. And I don't particularly like bitter drinks. And so the fact that the Saint Germain's is not bitter really works for me. I think it's amazing. I don't know if you guys want to try it or not, but you can if you'd like. And I didn't think that I could make a hot toddy with like anything except whiskey. And then he was like, you can make a hot toddy out of anything. And I was like, you can? And it really like opened my eyes to like the possibility. And that's why I tried it, was because basically he said you can. And I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. So yeah, sometimes watching YouTube videos can open your eyes to think of things differently, look at the world differently, which I think is great. As an artist, I really appreciate all of the other artists who have come before me, who inspire me on a regular basis. Literally like every day. I am literally every day inspired by artists. I'm on like Pinterest all the time being like, wow, who's this? And then I look up the artist and I'm like, oh my God, they do amazing stuff. Which is very classic of a lot of artists. I've done videos before from artists that inspired me, from Pinterest. That's where I found them. I've spoken about them before. Most of them are ones I cannot pronounce. Can't explain that. That's just luck of the draw, really. Luck of the draw is ones that I cannot pronounce, but you know, you go about things the way you can. So I'm just going in with my bigger palette knife to keep this line straight on the edge of the glass, to highlight that edge of the glass there. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Coming in, highlighting the edge of the glass. So everything kind of is at least kind of straight. Is at least the suggestion of straight. You know? Suggesting straightness. Not necessarily being straight, but suggesting straightness. Oh, left-handed painting is not my forte. Hey, we did it. All right. We got a little blue on our palette knife. That's gonna help to just break that up a bit. This is on the other side of the glass. I'm just kind of patting this to kind of blend it while still keeping its shape. Just to give it that little extra. The little extra. You guys know what I mean, right? By a little extra? Sure, I hope you do, because that's all I got for you. Adding a little bit of white. Adding a little bit of yellow. Okay, let's try that yellow again. The white overpowered the yellow. Hilariously. Yellow is so weak. Oh, yellow, why are you so weak? Alright, more white. Through there. More yellow. Just a little bit there and over here. And then more white around the edge, through the middle here. This, by the way, is a sculpting tool. It's not a palette knife at all. In case you were wondering, what the heck is she using? It's not a palette knife. This is a sculpting tool used for sculpting purposes. and I find it to be just the right kind of everything for detail-oriented palette knife paintings. That is what I find anyways, is that it's really good for that. It is silicone. That's what it is, it's silicone. Oh yeah. Coming together a little nicely here now. A little hint of that over there. We're starting to get some like texture and some life to everything. It's really starting to come together. All right. Come together right now over me. Doom doom doodle doo doo. It's the Beatles. For anybody who doesn't listen to the Beatles, that's the Beatles. I don't know how you managed to live without hearing the Beatles. Mad respect to you for being able to do that. If my dad's wife is listening to this, hi Alexis, she'll know that my dad is obsessed with the Beatles, like unhealthily obsessed with the Beatles. And that's just that. So I know a lot of the Beatles. I know more of the Beatles than anybody has any right to know about the Beatles. It's like, for somebody who is like, I don't really care. I know far too much about them for somebody who doesn't really care about the Beatles. That's just a fact. I don't care, but I know so much about them. Why? I don't know. Can't tell you. Dad goes on and on. You'd think I could forget about it, but no. That knowledge is just there, lingering. I really like these like little fire kind of things. It kind of really represents the way that like whiskey is very, I don't know, warm. Yeah, that looks pretty dang good. All right, we need a little more brown to like texturize this part. Around the edge, over there. There we go. Across the top here. Yep, in this section here. Just checking my references. Before I lay any paint down, I'm always like, oh, check the reference. And then it's like, okay, yes, it does belong there. Okay, then I shall put it there. All right, let's get that white highlight really shining. Oh yeah, that little white highlight really sells it as being like a glass of something. Try and see if we can get a little bit more yellow that is mixed with the white, so it's just a little bit brighter, and to like blend it in this section to kind of give like not a real highlight but like a suggestion. Yeah, just like a suggestion of a highlight through there. I think is really gonna make that. All right, now we gotta do like the complicated blue section. Yay, complicated blue section. Oh, all right, let's mix this with some of this, and we're just gonna get like a little weird bluey gray kind of color. Yeah, bluey gray. All right. maybe it needs a little darker. There we go. Increase that contrast. That's the idea. You gotta increase that contrast. It's always a good idea. Start with a mid-tone and then you can increase the contrast. You can push the values of the white and the darks until you get it into a place that you like. These are things that I am learning and I am working on getting better at. But from watching people like Eclectic Scribbles and Mighty May, they often start on like a mid-tone and then they add all the highlights and they add the shadows. But they always start with a mid-tone, so everything just kind of, I don't know, in my opinion, magically appears on its own. But you know, they did it and they took their sweet time making sure everything looked amazing. And I like to rush things and say, yeah, that's probably good enough. Which is very typical of me. But I also go for more of this kind of textured, loosey-goosey kind of way of going about things, which is much less, I don't know, I guess it's more carefree than it would be otherwise. And I like this kind of art where it's a little more up to interpretation. But yeah, that is my piece. Some of these lines are very wonky. Particularly this one, a little bit wonky there, but that's okay. We're allowed to have wonky individual pieces that are unique and exciting. I definitely am of the opinion that it doesn't have to be perfect. I find that the imperfections, that's where it really becomes art, in my opinion. But there are a lot of artists out there who are absolutely perfection to a T, and it also is absolutely gorgeous and wonderful. Whoop, I hit the camera, I'm sorry. So I definitely think art is one of those teach their own kind of thing, and all art has value, and all art is wonderful and glorious, and there are different types of arts for different kinds of artists and different kind of customers. So I will be posting a little bit of some better pictures. Right now you can see some better pictures on the side here, so you can get an idea of the texture that's going on here. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you so much my Patreons for still supporting me. I very much appreciate it. This year I was lucky enough, or well, I guess last year I was lucky enough to be able to give them each a card in the mail, which was a nice little bonus. And if you guys have suggestions for more paintings that you want me to do, please feel free to let me know in the comments below, as always. I was thinking about maybe trying to do some more cabins and practice cabins, because they're not easy. And if you want to, you know, follow any of the links, they're always in the description. Thank you so much, you guys. Remember that you are loved, you deserve to be loved, and I will catch you next time. Bye! Mwah!